Hey, boys and girls. How are you guys doing today? We got Jamesy on here. We got Gavin. Only two other faces besides this ugly mug next to me. It's a little upsetting. Hopefully we see some more pop in here.
Dude, I got a haircut. How can you get all of a sudden?
Can you get your money back? James, did you have states this weekend?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. We did terrible.
All right. I was gonna see how your kids did it. Place or anything?
Let's just say it's a 3A tournament. We were done after a day and a half.
It sounds like your voice was done after about the first round.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from that.
It's a good coach right there. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We will start off with some wins. Who's got some wins for us? Gavin?
I have a win that came in Friday. I have a property under contract with one of my investors in Catonsville. It's actually a pretty good price point for someone to buy a flip. They're buying it for $310. But they're buying it cash. And I was a little bit worried that we weren't going to be able to close on it because there was a HELOC that was found by title, and the company who held the HELOC didn't have like a payoff statement to give the title to like essentially clear it up. But the seller supposedly owes no money on the property. So in order to get in touch with the company who has the HELOC, they don't actually take phone calls. They are a research department that you have to like send a request through. And we sent this request like 3.5 weeks ago. So we had to sign an extension, and my buyer was already reluctant to sign the extension. And she was like, after 2 weeks, if we don't get this thing, we're backing out. I was like, shit, that kind of sucks. Because I was hoping, for one, I know it's a great property for her to flip. I know it's going to be profitable. And then for two, I was just, a little bit upset with not being able to close it because I wanted this one to close. But then we got the thing back from the research department on Friday, which was great. So we'll be able to close this week. So that's my win. And then another win I have is a buddy of mine, Lee, is my first friend to ever reach out to me to buy their house, because most people at my age aren't buying houses, but he is qualified to buy a house now. So we got his pre-approval in. So we're going to start looking. We looked at some over the weekend. So I'm excited to do that too. I really want to expand my retail business this year. So that's a good start.
Nice, dude. That's a huge win. Yeah, doesn't that feel good when one of the friends or family reaches out, especially your first one?
Yeah, it's a good feeling. And I mean, my goal with this is to get him, show him that I'm serious, show him that I'm legit, and then obviously try and get referrals from him. And obviously that Instagram post with him is going to be nice to have because it shows credibility that he's a pretty popular kid in my area, my mutual friend group. So seeing that he bought a house, hopefully that makes other people inclined to start getting on the process too.
Advice I would have for you with working with friends and family is super awesome, but don't take any of it for granted. Treat them like you would any other client. Have a process. It's not to say you can't joke around and, be friends as you're going through the process, but be as professional as you would with your counsel and your guidance and your expertise as you would with any other client, especially since he's going to be a huge advocate. I've had things go south that I've had to save because I didn't necessarily always do that. So don't ever treat friends or family any different, and carry that same level of expertise and professionalism with them.
Yeah, even more so, use them as a learning experience. Ask them afterwards or throughout the entire process, hey, is there anything that I can do better? Hey, I did this. Did you like that I did that? Is that something that helped you out? Because they'll tell you. And it's a lot easier to ask those questions to your friends.
Yeah, I have a slight tip of advice too. As somebody outside of just professional real estate business, whenever you do business with friends, you tend to want to help them out and give them deals. Even if you help them, let them know what your rack rate is first. Even if you in the end want to help them out in any way, shape, or form, you do that after you show them the full value of what you're doing and providing for them. Because they sometimes take that grace that you're giving them or whatever assistance you may decide to help them out with for granted, because they just don't know and they don't understand, especially since this is his first house.
Great benchmark though, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the advice too. Yeah, it means a lot.
Yep. Who else wins?
You have a win. Tell them.
Yeah, I have a win and I have a face.
Somebody had to
I have
win.
a win. Yeah. So been working on these midterm rentals in the city. It's 3 apartments, and it wasn't until I guess a week or so ago that I realized it's three properties. It's not just one property, it's 3 properties. And it became very tough. But a lot of moving pieces. I finally got one completely set up and ready for rentals, and my messages are blowing up on Furnished Finder. So it's been pretty gratifying over the last like 48 hours. But I called last week Hell Week because I like basically almost slept in the building just to make sure everything was getting done and on time.
I love that dedication.
Thank you.
So is that a triplex that ended
Yeah.
up being 3 separate properties?
Yeah, correct.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun.
That's awesome. Nice work.
Appreciate it.
I guess we're all familiar with what happened last week in the mortgage market. We all paying attention to that, specifically as it relates to the Iran conflict. I guess we're calling that a conflict, not a war yet. Right? So we saw 2 Fridays ago, it's dropped to below 6 for the first time since 2022. And then last week we saw them jump about a 3/8 of a point, which for buyers in a payment sensitive market, that's a big deal. So I think right now most places are seeing them on average around 6.15. Doesn't seem like it would be a big jump, but it is when you, like I said, it's prices are still high and payment sensitive.
We were discussing refinances that, if you're in the high 6s down to 5 and 3, quarters, and now we're right back up.
Yeah, I just had a buyer go under contract on new construction on Sunday, not this Sunday, a week ago. And then he pulled out I went to his house on Thursday. Thursday afternoon, he called me because when I left, he had a phone appointment with their mortgage person, and they reviewed the numbers, and things had changed that fast that he could no longer do it. He had to pull out. They canceled the contract this weekend. So in less than a week, he had to pull out of the deal.
Do you know how much it went up?
Significant enough to where it was a lateral move from where he is now. And he was like, that doesn't make any sense, which it doesn't. I'm glad he did. We'll revisit it when things calm down. But is anybody else seeing anything like that? I know you guys are going to speak up. Does anybody have buyers that haven't bought yet that were excited about rates being lower?
I had discussions around it, but I didn't have anybody that was like, I'm gearing up full, going full force because of it. But there's definitely discussions of the rates going to keep coming down, or, just having discussions around that. So,
Yeah, well, it's important if you do have people that are in limbo or haven't bought yet, or maybe have bought but haven't locked, that they revisit it. I'm sure if people are in contract, I'm sure their lender's on it, but you might want to check. And for those of you that have people that are looking, this is a great touch point because this changes things a little bit. And let me give you a little background on it, because this worked. What's happened is completely different than what should have happened. Let me explain. So when there's international and then this isn't the first time you guys have heard this if you've been on these calls. When there's international conflict, investors put their money into the safest place they can, which is U.S. bonds. And the mortgage rate follows the 10-year Treasury yield. When money gets put into bonds, bond prices go up, supply and demand, but the yield that is being returned to investors goes down because there's more demand for that investment. Does that make sense to everybody? The yield goes down because more money is going in. Thumbs up or something. Just want to make sure I don't have deer head. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, God. Hey, thank you. All right. Thank you, Brady. Okay. So when that yield goes down, or whatever direction it moves, up or down, rates follow. If I pulled up a chart and showed you the last 50 years of bond yields and mortgage rates, they follow each other almost to a T. So theoretically, rates should have gone down more last week because there's more money went into bond yields, but that's not what happened. There's competing forces. So when we've talked about in here about money going into bonds and rates following the bond yield, there's other forces that compete with that puts pressure on rates. And so when there's a conflict, there's usually a rush to safety, which is the bond market, which pulls yields down. But the other forces that make an impact is oil. And what happened last week? They closed that, I forget the name of it, but the main body of water there that they had for oil. I think like something like 30% of the world's oil comes out of that strait. So what happened to oil? Did anybody pay attention to that? Oil's up over $100 a barrel. Now, I know that most of us don't follow oil, so that doesn't leave us with a whole lot of context. It's the It's the first time since 2022 that it's been over $100 a barrel. But get this, it's the fastest incline in price for oil in a week since 1983. That's how fast it went up. So when oil prices spike, especially at the velocity at which they spiked last week, there's a fear of the other pressure that's on mortgage rates, which is inflation. Because when oil goes up, guess what goes up with it? The cost of goods. Because oil is responsible for getting it here. It's responsible for making it. Everything we touch has had oil somewhere along the line contribute to it getting to us. So that worked against us last week, whereas normally we would typically see rates go down because we're in a conflict. They went up last week because of oil. And it didn't make it any better that we had a really weak jobs report on Friday. So there's now all this where we got some stability. And this is how unpredictable the rate market is. We were good 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago on this call, we were feeling pretty freaking good. And it just goes to show you how fast things can change and how unpredictable it is, because now there's all this new sense of fear and uncertainty in the marketplace between weak jobs report, risk of inflation, oil.
Definition of nobody has a crystal ball.
Exactly. And another reason why people who are trying to time the rate are, pissing in the wind.
One good thing about this is I got ahead of this last week at the beginning of the week because I was chatting with my lender, and he was giving me kind of this insight from behind the scenes because, obviously I check on the market, but not as much as a lender does. That's their job. Our job is to sell homes. And he was telling me, he said that it's not looking great. I thought it was going to come down, but it's actually going to go up.
So that's what it is. That's what it is. That's why it is what it is. And it's definitely something that if you're not monitoring, that you should monitor, because it does have a heavy impact to our markets here, on down to the real estate market.
So if you had to give your best guess, where would you say we're going to be discussing next week?
Dude,
Just best guess.
if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have expected this.
Yeah.
So what I might say right now can't be even remotely counted on. I would say it's not going to change much over a week, because I don't think this is going to be super extended, but I don't think it's going to be super quick either.
And it honestly, a lot of it depends on what tactics Iran continues to use, because if you're talking about the Strait of Hormuz or Hormuz or whatever, right?
That's right. Yep.
So I was reading something over the weekend, and it was essentially how this conflict ties back in with our economy and the global economy. And as you said, or you touched on, oil is a very big deal because it's utilized in everything: manufacturing, transportation, chip manufacturing. Like literally, it's tied to everything. And they were saying that they can keep the strait closed for long enough due to this conflict that what will happen is it will create massive impact in our rate market, especially because the money that other countries are parking in the bond market as a safe investment, they'll start to hold on to if this conflict continues, and they'll keep it in their cash reserves. So essentially, money would start to funnel out of our bond market, and rates would then follow.
Which would
Would
make rates go up.
Exactly. Go up and go up fast. So this conflict, I mean, they were basically saying that the tactic it appears that Iran is using is they know that they can't, essentially everyone in the world knows, like globally, no one can compete with us militarily. But ultimately, if you can control the oil or the price of oil for long enough, then you'll just suck all of the cash reserves out of the global economy. And every country will start to hold their dollars much tighter.
Yeah, I agree. There's another play for them, and it's not going toe to toe with our military, Israel's military. It's to play with our market. That being said, Trump, I'm paraphrasing here, said that the short-term pain of the price of gas and oil is a small price to pay for neutralizing a nuclear threat. So if you're reading into that, he doesn't care too much about the short-term impact of oil and gas over, whatever the initiative is. He says dissolving a nuclear threat, but let's face it, there's probably some other hidden agendas. So if you ask me, going back to your question, what happens next week, I don't think anything really changes. I think oil will continue to go up, though, as they kind of tighten around that. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that this is going to be years like the Ukraine conflict war, but I don't think I think it's definitely something that's going to impact us potentially through the spring market.
Do you think it's making buyers, just with this conflict right now, do you think it's making buyers be like, I'm going to wait to see what happens here?
I will tell you this, pending sales and new mortgage applications were up year over year last week despite of it. So the American consumer is a resilient animal. You know, we got through some of the toughest inflation that our economy's ever seen the last 2022, 2023. And every economist that I read or followed or listened to said that we should be going into the dirty R word, which is recession. And we never did. And we still aren't.
The
Now, some of it might be
indicators were
confusional.
there. We just weren't behaving like we were in a recession.
The American spending's up. I mean, it's pulled back somewhere, but I guess we're putting it on debt, which isn't a good thing. But the American consumer is resilient. We want to spend, we'll spend. Some of it might be the definition of what a recession is, because a recession is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of declining or negative GDP, and we haven't seen it. But could it be considered a recession if the normal everyday Americans hurting, which they have been? Job loss, jobless claims are up. Some of it might be the actual definition of recession, but consumers in this country are resilient. The other thing I'll say as it relates to housing, this is my own personal theory, is that housing is such a deep-seated emotional motivation that once it's set in motion, if people can find a way to make it work, they'll make it work. It's not like buying shoes or even a car. Some people punt that or pawn it off, but if they got to move their family, they're moving their family. At least that I found. Now, that's not always the case. I just had this couple back out of new construction, but they're in a situation where they really didn't want to move. They were looking for ways to save money, and this was strictly numbers. But I think for most people, once the emotions get tied into the wheels of motion of buying or selling or moving, for whatever the motivation might be, job relocation, better schools, bigger house, they'll find a way to make that work.
So it goes back to exactly what you've always said and what everybody should try to find and dig a little deeper into their clients is, you know, everybody, if they're going to make a move, you got to find the reason why they're moving and really dive into that. You know, they have to have some emotion behind that because, you know, when rates go up, they're not going to like that. So you got to pull them back and say, well, you know, you're having another child on the way, you need a bigger house. Is that worth more than, you know, backing down and staying in the house?
You always want to know why, but you also want to be very careful around that line there, because there's a line where it becomes to be you're pushing. So you have to help people. You have to reel them in, but you have to do it tactfully. For these people, it made 0 sense for them to make the move, and I told them that the right thing to do is to pull it and wait and see what happens. So now just to kind of go off on this tangent a little bit, he said, you know, the builder's rep, because they're using the builder's lender, said maybe we should explore outside lenders just to see. And so he's open to that. So I'm helping him do that to see the number, but I'm not overly optimistic that somebody's going to do it to make it work. But be very careful if you're having those conversations in trying to exploit their why over top of putting them in an uncomfortable financial situation.
Well, it goes back to what we spoke about last week too, where I just had a meeting with the buyers that I met at the open house. And when I sat down with them, preliminary went over, hey, have you sat down and went over your monthly costs? I sat down and gone over everything that you spend each month, and have you made it clear this is how much we can afford each month moving forward? Because if you have that number is not going to change. The price of the house and the mortgage might go up, but that means that they might have to come down in price because they got to stay at that number. So if you have those preliminary conversations, then you just say, hey, this is our number and this is where these homes are at. That puts you around that number. You can still go get those, but that price just may be a little different.
Yeah, we've been firmly in a very volatile rate environment. We just saw it go up 3/8 of a point a week. I think that our consultations with our buyers, if we're bringing the highest level of professionalism that we possibly can, is helping people with the financials, but also building in a buffer for what ifs. Because we just got done saying no one knows. No one knows. No one predicted this 2 weeks ago. So part of the conversation should be helping them establish a budget based on today's interest rates, because that's what the payment's built around. But what if rates slide up 0.25% overnight? or over the period of 3 nights or a week? What does that payment look like to you? What is that purchasing power? Are you okay with that? So I think that needs to become part of the conversation if we're doing our jobs, is to prepare people for the potential, for the volatility in the marketplace. And I think your people will thank you.
Yeah, worst position you can ever be in, and like, I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's happened to me before, is getting someone under contract and then they go back and review the numbers and they're like, I just don't think I can do this. I don't think I can afford this.
They weren't prepared.
Yep.
So I'm in a situation sort of like this, and it has nothing to do with rates. But I was hoping to maybe throw this out to the group today to see what everyone's thoughts are, because it's something new for me. But I have a client, and her why is simply that she doesn't want to be directly next door to the vacant home that has been broken into multiple times by the same people, and is really just living in fear of her life daily, wondering what might happen next door to affect her property and her life while she's sleeping and all that. So she finally came around and said, you know what, I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to sell. I need to sell. We got her under contract and everything with an investor. And she finally took that time to go talk to the lender that I'd been, kind of nudging her to talk to for the better part of a year. And right now, she's in a situation where she now realizes that she can't afford her second home. Like, it's just not in the cards for her. It was something with her like taxes and being 1099, and so now she's just kind of in a bind and looking for rentals. She's been in her house for 20 years, so money is a lot different now than it was 20 years ago for rents, and she's very worried that she's not going to be able to afford something. But it's really about like mitigating her expectations. She thinks she's going to be able to get a whole house for $1,200, which is impossible. So we've just been looking at the market and everything, seeing what's available. And she's starting to come around a bit, but I know she's mentioned wanting to back out, or the idea of backing out in lieu of doing this over again in a few months. And I'm not sure really what to do here.
Do you know the investor? Like, are you close with the investor?
I don't know the investor at all.
Do you have means to back out?
We have no reason to back out. I mean, we didn't have any home sale contingency clause we didn't have any contingencies built in for that because of the vacant and because of the way we went to market. The idea was just to get an offer. As long as it was over 100,000, she was going to be happy. And she does see the amount of money that she's going to be getting as being very helpful, because she has some debt that she wants to erase. And then the rest of the money she wants to sort of hold on to for when she is ready to buy. But now she's like kind of torn, I think. I think she thinks that she can go do something in the market, or thought she could do something in the market, and is now realizing that even through rentals, it's not really going to be the path that she thinks it is. And I think she's starting to get scared and anxious.
One thing I had actually last year, just around this time, is it was Matt Brown's close friends that he wanted me to help him out and find them a home, and they were in a similar situation where they didn't have a lot of money to put down. So what the honest conversation I had with them was, if we're going to look at something and you want to purchase right now, we're going to have to hone in on properties that are not sold out. There's something that's sitting on the market for 75 plus days, something that people don't want, and it may not be pretty, but as long as you're okay with going in and being okay with that house and maybe rolling up your sleeves and doing some stuff, we can get you into a house and we can get you some money back towards your closing costs. They ended up finding a house in Timonium, which was crazy because that's usually a pretty competitive market. Yeah, and they brought, I'm not kidding, they brought $1,400 out to the closing table. That was the lowest I've ever had. And they bought a house and they were very happy. And this house was on for 60 some days. It needed work. We got inspections done. They did some stuff for us on the inspections, and they gave them, I think, $16,000 in closing help. So you could have a conversation around that of like, hey, the home that you may be looking for, the home that we can get you into, may not be this sparkling gem of a home, but it gets you out of your life. It gives you a place to sleep at night where you're not scared that you're going to die.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my 2 cents, because I had that last year, and they were Yeah, I know we saw a lot. We lost out on some offers because it was competitive, and when it got competitive, there's just no way that they were going to win. I mean, they were asking for that much closing comp, but we ended up finding something for them.
And we actually, so that was the first come to Jesus moment we had when she was trying to get pre-qualified. Was, hey, we got to take the price point lower. You're not going to get the most aesthetic homes in that 225 to like 180 band, but you're going to find something that, you know, might need some paint, might have a couple things that are necessary, and that could work for you. And she was all for that until she found out that she flat out just does not qualify right now with her tax returns. So, I mean, for these rentals, and I know it's not like a person to person thing, that it's like the fear talking when she's saying certain things, because now she's like kind of refusing to go see places in person. And she's only relying on pictures, and she'll look at like an apartment and say, yeah, it doesn't have a balcony. And I'm like, you're closing in 2 weeks. You've never mentioned needing a balcony in an apartment ever.
Have you brought up to her that like they're this far into the contract, like there's not, the only way for us out is by, you know, breaking the contract, which can eventually end up losing her more money that she doesn't have.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I know that's a hard conversation, but that sometimes kicks him in the butt and says, okay, I need to start seriously looking.
Yeah, and that's sort of where we went with it about a week ago. It was, you know, what are my options? And very cleanly, like, you know, your option is to follow through with the contract, collect your money, and even if you want, I can help you find a short-term rental for like a month where we can keep looking. That way, you know, we could still buy you more time. I don't know. It's sort of been touch and go since then.
Mike,
Have you also
yeah,
have you also had a conversation with the buyer's agent or the buyer and said, hey, listen, here's kind of what we're going through. You know, we're discussing our options. Obviously, we don't have a clean way out of the contract. It would be a breach of contract if she decided not to show up to settlement. How would you guys proceed if she breached the contract? Sometimes people are like, on the investor side, are like, hey, look, we understand. And other times they're like, we're going to sue you. And it wouldn't be bad to have that information, because it's just another key piece to go back to her with, right? Like, hey, listen, I've spoken to them. I've been honest. While they're understanding of your situation, they fully intend to buy the house, and one way or another, they're going to make you act on this contract.
Yeah, and they said that, and not so. I mean, I probably should just go back and ask directly, because we floated the idea of like a 2-week extension just to help her find something else, because they don't want to close and then let her rent back. But I should go back with just hey, you know, this is where we are. What is your investors like?
yeah.
Next step.
I have, you know, 150 agents in VYBE, and a lot of them are investors, are finding these properties. Maybe put something out and say, hey, if anybody can find me a good investment in this price point, at least when you go to them, be like, hey, this is kind of where the direction that we're heading. And I know that makes you upset, but I talked to some people in my brokerage, and we have this opportunity, and it might be better.
Okay,
Yeah.
not a bad idea.
Where's the house?
So on McElderry, 3307.
Okay, 21205.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of had a situation similar. There was somebody who I got this lead from PPL, as a wholesale lead, and she was living in 21218 next to a vacant, like 2 doors down. And she kind of was the same, like she feared for her life a little. We ended up buying the property, and then she, I believe, had like a family member to go to. The purchase price for her house was like 70,000. So I'm sure it's probably somewhat similar to what she's getting for hers. But she was kind of lucky in her situation to have a family member to go like live with for a little bit. I don't know if your seller has like a situation kind of similar to where maybe there's someone she can kind of lean on. If not, that's understandable. But that was kind of the solution we found for the meantime.
No, I appreciate that. We yeah. So, and it got like, not to like keep dragging this out, because I know we have like plenty of other situations to run through, but like it all started getting weird when she started bringing her brother along to showings. And I hate when family gets involved, because it always just becomes something more than it is. And he started like declining homes on her behalf, basically, because of popcorn ceiling or this or that. I'm like, he's just kind of confusing the situation more. But, you know, keep my mouth shut there. And yeah, she's walking away. I mean, the offer came in at 110. I talked to investors going in. They weren't going to be paying more than 60 or 80. So we went on the MLS. We got her 110. She's going to walk away with 30 grand. I mean, it's a good place to be in financially for her. She bought a car recently that she didn't want to have to buy, and that's kind of screwing her up too. All in all, like on the financial side, it's a good deal. Everywhere else is where I think it just comes down to the fact that she never really wanted to move. She didn't want to have to do this. There's this vacant next to her that's kind of ruining her whole situation. She's alone. She's almost 60. She doesn't like the way that her neighborhood is kind of declined. And now it's almost as if like the entire situation is being forced, which I feel for her, but I really need her to just kind of switch something to say, I can't be super choosy in this moment. I need to find something and just be okay with that and like actually realize that like, okay, my dream's deferred for 6 months to a year, but I will be able to get, that property that I really want. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely throw this in the group, and you could probably get a little bit more feedback from some other people that might not be on this call. I think everything that was said was really good feedback, and ultimately at the end of the day, I have lost one earnest money deposit in my entire real estate career, and it was because the guy was like 2 weeks before closing, he's like, I don't want the house anymore. And I said, that's the problem. And he goes, I don't care if I lose my earnest money deposit. I don't want it. So sometimes people just have to live with that,
I appreciate everybody.
He's on the listing side though, so that ends in a lawsuit for failure to perform. I've taken that shot over the bow with an attorney. It gets pricey fast.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've mentioned. This is an investor. They've already started spending money to get things going, right? Like, it's not going to be pretty. Like, I want to protect her, but at the same time, I think she's like starting to like kind of think that shutting down is an option, and it's not. Like, we have to make a clean decision on what we're going to do. This is helpful though. This whole conversation is helpful because I do have to go back to her and really have a come to Jesus kind of moment.
Yeah, I think what Mike said was important too. Just be really, really upfront with the people on the other side, because at the end of the day, if it push comes to shove and they have to lay down the hammer, they're going to be a little bit better if you're upfront with them and telling them what's going on.
Yeah, because what you're going to get today is their initial reaction, and that's going to be emotional, right? It's going to be, we're going to do this, and we're going to very, very rigid. They're going to sue her. They're going to X, Y, and Z. You give them 3 to 5 days to really think about this. You probably get a different response out of them. So I would do that, but I also, Brady made a good point. I mean, I would be proactive in kind of summarizing what's her comfort level, like what's her approval amount, what can she afford to buy, what areas is she, comfortable living in, or what areas are you searching in, what are some of the amenities she's after. I mean, between everybody in the brokerage, somebody has to have something.
Use the family.
Yeah,
You got it. You'll get through it.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to kind of circle back just to tie together the loose end of the conversation that led into that, which was the whole pricing situation. I've read a bunch of different sources, and the same undertones have come out in all of it. So I didn't want to, I'm always going to give you reality as I'm reading it or hearing it. But most of the experts that I've read or listened to all expect this situation to rebound as it relates to mortgage rates, because other than the conflict, all of the economics indicators support where we were. So while it doesn't feel good right now, again, because it hasn't felt good in a while, right? Most experts are predicting things to rebound when this dies down. So when that could be, I don't know, but I tend to agree, because we got where we were because the market was supporting it. It was earned. We didn't just drop down because of some event created an increase of money into the bond market, which forced rates down. Rates were steadily moving in that direction because the market supported that move. And so I firmly believe that. So I just wanted to kind of leave on that note, because we're not going to have enough time to get to really what I wanted to touch on. But I'm going to save that for next week. We'll call that a cliffhanger. But yeah, any questions on that? The market, rates, this conflict, how it relates to real estate?
Hey, maybe it'll be like 5.5.
Could be. I'm gonna leave you with that, because like I said, I don't think we're gonna have a kind of up against this, so I don't want to start on this and not be able to finish it. But I really wanted to get in for next week the idea and concept of the science of achievement. versus the art of fulfillment. Because I think, actually, I don't think, I know it would benefit everyone on this call and even those, a lot of that aren't on this call. And I think it's something that, again, I know it's something that we all struggle with. So I went deep on this. Like I said, we're not having enough time to jump on it today, but science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. The genesis of this came from Tony Robbins, one of my favorite follows and authors. He talked about this. He got back into this because he talks about it a lot, but he talked about this in an interview he did with Alex Hormozzi. And I don't know if anybody's seen that interview. It was about an hour and a half long on YouTube. I watched it twice because it was good. And I thought it was going to be an interview. It ended up being basically a coaching session for Alex, and we just got the inside look of it. But Alex Hormozzi had asked the question, what would you do different? Tony Robbins asked him what he meant by that. He just said, how can I find more meaning? And that's when they uncovered, or Tony Robbins popped open this whole science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Yeah, spent all morning.
Well, there you go. Next week, you guys got something special then.
Yeah,
That's called the Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozzi interview. That's what like the name of that video is, or?
No, it's you can probably put it into YouTube or Google it, it'll pop up, but finally. No, that was just one of many things they talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hormozzi's cool. He's a good, I always watch his videos.
He is, but the thing I learned about is he's very production based. He's very methodical and always looking for the next thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that whatsoever, because I think he's a legend and I think he's awesome as well. He wrote a book, $100 million offers. If you haven't read that, it's amazing, and it would give you some ideas on how you're marketing and position yourself out there. So I think the world of Alex Hormozzi, but what I learned in that interview is he suffers very much like the rest of us in prioritizing the art of fulfillment. He's got the science of achievement down, right? The dude's created companies worth, I don't know, maybe in the billions. He's partnered with Sharon Srivatsa with their company and acquisitions. So he's got the achievement part down, the science of it. It's the art of fulfillment. One's not better than the other, but both are needed. And they talked a little bit about it. And one of the things I want to talk about is pain versus suffering. Because pain is needed for achievement. You need to go through pain. Pain is the sacrifice. It's the discipline. It's the hurt of building habits. It's doing things that make you uncomfortable. That's the pain. You have to earn your achievement. But suffering is meaning. Suffering is a choice. It's what we assign meaning to everything. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. And so I wanted to hopefully kick that door open so that we can maybe get past that, because I think a lot of us are stuck on the science of trying to achieve and unlock it, be consistent with it, and that's right, but we're not taking time to enjoy the art of fulfillment as well.
Dude, see me for next week.
I get excited about it.
I guess we have 6 minutes left, and one interesting thing that I wanted to bring up was about a different market that I wasn't, I guess, aware of or used to, and I was very shocked to see. On Friday, I had a lender that I worked with previously reach out, and she's trying to earn some business, so she sent me a client that said they're ready to go. They want to go look at this house, and I was like, awesome. She goes, it's a $750,000 rancher in Elgin City. And I was like, cool, sounds fantastic. So I give them a call, look on the MLS, and it says,
Hey, what's that under?
all offers due by Friday at 2 p.m. It was 12 o'clock. So I was like, oh, okay. So I called the lady, and she does a lot of business there. It's Jeanette Westcott. She has a lot of business in like Howard County. And I was just like, hey, just wanted to check in. Like they're interested, but like I know we're up against it here. So she goes, what do you think of the price? Where do you think it's going to land? It was listed at 744. And I said, I mean, if you're already having offers due by, and it's 2 days in and due by 2 o'clock on a Friday and not letting it touch the weekend, probably an 8 in front of it. And she goes, keep going. And I go, Q5, keep going. I was like, are you serious? She goes, we have 17 offers. And the offer that we're looking at, without giving you a price, isn't cash, but they're putting nearly 50% down, very, very large appraisal gap. And it's what? That's almost $100,000 over asking price. And I was like, is this? So I started diving into it. I said, They're not going to go there. I haven't even met them yet. So let's just, can I dive into the market with you? Like, what's going on there? She goes, it's bonkers. She said, hey, go look at the rancher that sold in the neighborhood last week because I offered on it. Not me, she did. She goes, that one got 18 offers and it sold for $125,000 over asking, 40K appraisal gap. Huge money down, no inspections. I don't do a ton in Columbia and Ellicott City, but that is still happening. So I don't know if anybody in here has been offered in Ellicott City and Columbia, but geez, the weeks.
Several billboards on Route 32
Yeah.
in Columbia and Ellicott City.
I mean, goodness.
So last
This
year,
exact situation, actually, Brady. I offered on a ranch in Columbia. It was a Craig Northup listing. 33 offers. We lost it by over 100K. It was listed at 825. We escalated to 950 and still lost it. We paid for all their transfer taxes. We waived inspections, put down more than 20%.
Here's the thing though, are they drastically underpricing these on purpose, or is
No.
that market really going crazy?
that
I think
market
if you
is year over
underprice
year
it-
is like 6%. Is like a 6% increase, I think, in Catonsville too. And it's so there's like such little turnover in those towns that offers are coming in 5 to 20% higher on the regular with no contingencies at all.
And I
But
guess
I think that's the
appraisals
part
are
that
better,
you
everybody's
get
getting
the
appraisal
contingencies
gaps.
paid for, and you get the transfer taxes, you get all that. Like, you might as well you land on the same price if you list it at the right price, but you don't get the free rent back, you don't get the transfer taxes paid, you don't get all that extra stuff.
Yeah.
But where was this price? What
It was
price?
55 in
How
the
much?
Appleton neighborhood, Hickory Ridge.
825 and it went for like 950.
Yeah, but could he not have gotten the same thing with competitive offers at
Nine.
$899?
Maybe, but you wouldn't have got like the free rent back, you wouldn't have got waived inspections.
Do we know that?
We don't, but
I mean, with 33 offers, you're probably going to get whatever you want. Right, you can get whatever you want.
I think you would have gotten 15 and still got all that.
Mike's unmuted. He's itching. What you got?
But it would have been presumptive pricing until 60 days ago, Nick. Like now that you're getting some comps, you know, some of these people might list in the low nines or the mid nines, but it would have been presumptive 2 listings ago.
But would it? I don't know what the comps look before.
It would have. I mean, I'm playing around in Ellicott City a little bit with a set of buyers now, and it's actually insane looking at what you didn't have comps for 90 days ago and what you're getting comps for right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's Chris isn't wrong. I mean, there's some neighborhoods right now where the new comps are coming in with appraisal gaps, and it's like 9.25 sales where it was 775 last year. Yeah, it's gotten nuts,
That's crazy.
especially on the ranchers. And I don't know if that's because you have people that are used to the Howard County amenities that are moving down, you know, so they're selling 1.5, 1.6 and then have a ton of cash. But big push for the schools lately. I mean, I've had a lot of people who even were like Southern Carroll buyers that are like, you know, we think we want to push back into Howard only to get priced out and
Good
come
luck.
back.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So, what
they-
do you, so
The
how-
first-time home buyers in Catonsville, families, right? Like young families, they're getting priced out by people who are downsizing because they have the cash to be able to put down large chunks of money. That's like their competition is somebody who wants to retire in Catonsville too, or Ellicott City, or just in that area. So it is nuts, and it goes like that every year. It's like a cycle.
Damn boomers.
Humors.
Well, we're at 10:30, so I guess we can leave on that. Yeah, we appreciate you guys. Well, if you have any buyers in Ellicott City and Columbia, good luck. Mike, just curious, how long have you been working with them?
It hasn't been long, like
Okay.
90 days. Yeah, it hasn't been long.
You weren't in there at like the end of the year. I'm trying to see, like, has this been happening since last year, or is it just all of a sudden this year? It's like,
I mean, so I didn't have a lot of experience in Howard County last year, and the two times that I worked in Howard County last year was both listings and they were flips, and they both went nuts. I mean, even last December, I had one of my flips that we got 97 showings.
yeah.
And like, I think Dylan held an open house, maybe Ali did too. And it was like 45 to 50 people through every open house.
Jeez.
And we got so many offers that we just said, please stop. Like, don't stop sending offers.
If it's below this, just stop.
Well, it
Was
got
this
to the point
Patriot
where it
Lane?
was like, I had a spreadsheet going and I think we had 31 lines, and it was like, unless somebody's going to pay cash at like, 175 over, this is just too much. I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Mike, this was
crazy.
Patriot Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy open house for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's definitely not what I'm seeing here in Carroll County. I think that's very much different. So that's why it caught me a little off guard.
The craziest part about these people, Brady, and I kind of lied to you. So they've been active for like 75 days. We've been looking at houses. I've been talking to her since late 2022, and they wanted the market to calm down because they didn't want to get in these competitive situations. And they were trying, and then rates went up. So they were trying to time the market, and they just keep doing it. So they'll go through like 90 days of activity, and then she'll go, all right, we're going to pause. We think that we're going to get some relief at some point in time. Prices go up another 5 to 7% and rates stay the same. So I keep telling her, like, stop shooting yourself in the foot. Just buy a house already.
Yeah, my favorite is the videos where you have both sides. The one video where market crashing coming 2026, blah, 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 headlines. And then you have the other side, which is the real estate side of like buy now, you can take advantage now. If you bought in 2022, this is where you would be. So you still have these competing sides that are trying to say, I mean, somebody's going to be right. Both people are going to be right at some point in time. But it's interesting to see online what people are saying.
I just think even if we had a small crash, which I don't think is going to happen, prices probably don't sink below 2022 numbers. They've come up 35 or 40% since then.
Yeah.
I mean, appreciation's been out of control.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think that, I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, but we shall see. All right. I know we're past our time, so I'll let you guys go. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, just throw it into the group, the VYBE chat, and we'll help you out. Bye, friends.
Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.